Today, the final person who really helped me along the way, and this may sound really arrogant, but the person is me. And I don't mean that I think I'm the smartest person who ever lived or anything like that, but I do mean that it took me a long time to learn to trust myself, to listen to myself, to pay attention to my own thoughts. And that has been incredibly helpful to me. It really happened after I left church because, of course, my focus prior to leaving the church was 100% on the Bible, studying the Bible and reading commentaries. In fact, as an academic, I sort of got tired of it, but I mean, I piled my shelves high with commentaries because it was like the more you read about all these scholarly people had said about the Bible, the more solid the ground you stood on was. And so you could say, well, so and so says, but somebody else says, but in the 15th century they said, and in the Greek it says, and everything. But what do you say? Kind of like Jesus's question to the disciples. Oh, who do people say that I am? Well, some say this, some way that, and he says, who do you say I am? And when I say that I have really helped myself, what I really mean by that is that it has been a huge step forward for me to not read so much and to spend time really just thinking my own thoughts, letting my own ideas develop. And I'm not saying like that because mine are the most brilliant, but I think everyone should do this. I ran into this idea before I really even did it. Einstein said, any man who reads too much and uses his own brain too little falls into lazy habits of thinking. Yes, absolutely. It's just at a certain point, there's just not much value in going back and re-raking the ground of what everybody else thinks and never in your whole life stopping to say, well, what do I think? Another famous quote is from Thomas Hobbes, which is quoted by various people, including Isaac Asimov and Emerson and all kinds of people. But he says, if I had read as much as other men, I would be as ignorant. In other words, I hope you followed that, but like if you read too much, it rather than increasing your knowledge, the idea is that reading too much could actually decrease what you know. Because what are you doing? You're just like assimilating information and quoting this, quoting that. You're basically functioning like ChatGPT or something like that. So think your own thoughts. And for me, that has been life changing. I have to point to Emerson because his essay, Self Reliance, which I referenced, I think, at the beginning of this series, he just has a whole lot to say about this. Here's a little passage. And again, the English is a little old, so hopefully you can follow this. But he says, the merit we ascribe to Moses, Plato, and Milton is that they set at naught books and traditions, and spoke not what men, but what they thought. A man should learn to detect and watch the gleam of light which flashes across his mind from within, more than the luster of the firmament of bards and sages. Paying attention to that inner voice, that little, that what it feels like when you realize something, where you see something and something clicks and there is this knowledge that's deeper because it's coming directly as the result of your perception. You're not just rehashing what other people have said. Listen to your own voice. Speak your own mind. Whatever you may think of facing up, it's me. And I like that because I as I have thought this through, and I've been working on it for, like 5-6 years now, really wrestling with these ideas, I intentionally have not read much. And now I'm starting to again, and I'm really beginning to enjoy going back. And now, as I read, for example, right now, John, one of the people who listens along, has mentioned Carl Jung, and he said, threw a quote at me from him, and it made me curious because I've never really read any Jung. So I've started reading Man and His Symbols, and I'm finding it just fascinating. I love it, and partly because I have thoughts, like I'm not coming at it as like this blank slate who's never thought about things and reading this guy and saying, well, what should I think? I know what I think. And as I read Jung, I can say yes to this. And I see that. Oh, you see that too. But it's like, it's not that I think I'm the only one who sees. It's just that I'm using my own eyes too. And that has been just amazing. This may sound sort of anti-intellectual, anti-science even, and I don't mean that at all. What I do mean is that it's rather than trusting intellectualism or science or theologians or whatever, there's something very powerful about a direct connection with our existence and a very honest reflection on what we see. I think I've mentioned before that Carl Sagan, to me, when I watched his Cosmos series, I found that to be just mind-blowing. And what I loved about Sagan is he wasn't saying, look at all this stuff that I know. He was saying, look at all this stuff we don't know. I think I felt the same sort of feeling when I read the Chronicles of Narnia as a child. Actually, my mom read them to me, and they really spoke to me. But as I look back on what touched me about those, it wasn't that, here's this really solid Christian doctrine, or here's Bible verses, or anything like that. It was more of that feeling of connection with the divine, with something real that is bigger and beyond me, and that was personal and paying attention to me. And that was, of course, Aslan, which of course is the parallel for Jesus, but it was that sense of wonder. So I guess what I'm trying to say with this is that as both science and religion are, when they are at their best, are not just rehashing what people before have said. They're exploring, and they're going outside and they're saying, wow, look at all the things we don't know. Live It Up, which we are experiencing right now, is the growing edge of my development. I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't spend a huge amount of time editing these or popping music in or trying to make them beautiful or whatever. I'm trying to just, in a very real and raw way, share with you my journey and my process. I was encouraged by my friend Jim to do this at the beginning of the year, and I think I have not missed a week since the year began, and it's been really great for me. I hope you've enjoyed, those of you who are listening. But I gotta say, in light of what I just said, it would be so much better if you would just sit down or go for a walk and say, what do I think about this? And just really listen. To put it in Emerson's word, a man should learn to detect and watch that gleam of light which flashes across his mind from within. I love that. I mean, that's way better than listening to me or reading a book or any of that. I love sharing this, and I'm working on a video now that I'm trying to produce and make really clear to say what I think as clearly as I can. Facing Up, if you've been listening, I hope you've been hearing a consistency and a theme. But to really boil it down and to say it briefly and powerfully, I've been working very hard to do that for many months now. And I'm again challenged by a quote that's often attributed to Einstein, which says, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. So as I'm trying to describe this life of facing up, and people say, well, what is that? And I go, blah, 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 blah. Sit down. Let me draw you a big, long, complicated graph or chart or something. If I can't explain it simply, I don't understand it well enough. To put it just sort of in three steps, I would say facing up begins with the premise that we are lost, we don't know. It moves on to say, because we don't know, we receive our human perception as the essence of our existence. So whatever this is, whatever I am, here I am, I'll take it. I'm in, and I call that perceptualism. And then the third thing is that when we see that we are lost in this world, when I look around and say, okay, what is this? Well, I see that I'm lost. I see that there's a longing I cannot satisfy. I see that there's a loneliness. I don't run from that. I face up to those things and choose life. And that looks like wonder and gratitude and a compassion. And then I express that in my life as adventure, play, and kindness. And I'm just ingraining those things as my response to the world that I perceive. On September 21st, 2 weeks from today, I'm excited to announce that the club will begin. This has been pretty much a monologue from day one. And on September 21st, I want to change that because I called it a club after all. It's sort of a weird club where I just go in and talk in this club. I really, from the beginning, had dreamed about a place, a gathering, a community of people, like authentic souls to share life together. Not looking for followers at all. I hope you just heard what I said about, listen to yourself. I'm looking for sturdy, authentic souls who are also just using their own eyes and speaking their own voice. And it doesn't mean we won't quote people and bring in other views and that sort of thing, but most of all, just not looking for dogma or some plan or some guru but just people who are facing life honestly. The club, which will begin, will include a private social networking platform, sort of like Facebook. I'm planning a monthly live Zoom call with the people who participate. Along with, I'll have put in some classes, and anyway, you'll see it's quite the playground, and I really want it to be a place where I can engage with people. I find trying to keep track of all the social media outlets, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I'm doing, what's the one everyone's using now? I can't even remember the name of it. The Substack podcast. I mean, I'm doing all those things right now, but I can't have meaningful dialogue on all those platforms. Plus, I really want to engage with people who are kind of more serious about it. So anyway, you'll hear more about that in a couple of weeks, and I'm excited to share that with you. Thank you for listening today, and I hope that you are going to get some time to just really enjoy your own voice today.